Hi, Amanda. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Um, so you reached out to me, Amanda. You reached out to me because of a certain individual. Could you want to say with who that individual is?
Yes, that individual is my children's father, Corey Faulkner.
And was there a recent incident? I hate that word incident. Why am I using it? Was there a recent uh, thing that happened with Corey Faulkner?
Yes, so on October 30th, I was notified that my children's father, Corey, was in a standoff with the Westbrook police after allegedly assaulting his girlfriend.
Laura, can you tell me how you were related to this person?
Yes, Corey Faulkner is my son-in-law. He was married to my daughter who died February 2022. It was immediately ruled as suicide. They also have a son, and that's also part of our battle is keeping the son safe.
And how did the two of you connect? How did Laura
Um,
and Amanda connect?
Oh,
Sorry.
nervously.
we were introduced at Michaela's funeral.
Amanda, he was your partner first, and then he was Michaela's partner after that. Was it a situation where he villainized Amanda to Michaela, maybe, so that for that reason, Amanda and Michaela, you were not friends at the time, or
Yeah, that has been, my experiences with partners that he's had, after me was that that's exactly what's happened in the past. Probably the most contact that Michaela and I had was prior to her death.
what kind of contact was that?
Just contact, regarding the children, regarding visits. Michaela was I shared this with Laura. Um, they had a one of their first visits with them after having not had some contact with them for a while. Um, and so this visit occurred probably 3 days before Michaela's death. And like that whole weekend leading up to the visit, she was texting me, just wanting to make sure that she had, activities for the girls. And she knew that one of my children was into vampires at the time. And she had some like books that she had when she was a teenager about vampires and just wanting to know if I would be okay with her giving those books to my daughter.
So, Amanda, can you tell me where you were in your life? What kind of place you were in your life when you met Corey? How old you were, and just a little bit about the relationship and what your first impression was of him, and then when it turned and what ended up happening.
Yeah, so at the time when I met Corey, I was 18 years old. I had just graduated high school. Um, I was in a situation at the time where I was actively using substances. I was an IV heroin user for many years. Um, and Corey and I met through our place of employment. The substance use piece, he was also actively using substances at the time. So, I think a lot of our relationship was built around our substance use.
When did it become like problematic as far as his behavior toward you?
So, um, honestly, like really right away, I didn't see it. I have a letter that my mom wrote me when I was in rehab when I was 19. And she literally ends the letter with her talking about her concerns that Corey might really hurt me someday. So I think everybody around me could see that this was not a good thing. Um, Plenty of people warned me when I started getting involved with him. A lot of warnings in regards to um, him using me for money. So that was a big one. Around that time, I was involved in sexual exploitation. So people had a lot of concerns regarding, um, him, using me for money.
Was he
Um,
profiting off of that?
yes. Yep. Yes, he was.
And
And it
then
was encouraged, because at the end of the day, me doing that was also feeding his own substance use.
yes, like what other things were happening?
Kind of the first thing that I can really recall is uh, he was telling my family at the time. My family didn't know about, kind of how in depth my substance use disorder was. Um, so I can remember he had like called my family up, um, and had told them that I was using and that I needed to go to rehab. And he had asked them to borrow money, which they had given him. Um, and, he created this conflict with my primary support system, which
Mm,
at the time was my family.
isolation, classic,
Yeah. So
classic. Yeah.
it became very like isolating. And I remember when I got dropped off at, it was Mercy Recovery. This would have been back in 2006. And I remember just feeling so frustrated that my family was so upset with me. Um, and he looked like the good guy. Like,
Right.
little did they know, that he was the person that was supplying my substances. So when I was, involved in sexual exploitation, there had been a time where he had been encouraging me to go make money. And I went to this place where he knew where I was. Um, and he ended up driving over there, and he started yelling like in the parking lot of this motel. And he like proceeded to demolish my car, um, with a box truck that he had. So like my car was like the mirrors were hanging off it. It had dents in it. Police had been called. But that was, controlling in the sense of like he knew where I was, he knew what I was doing. He was encouraging me to do this, and yet at the same time, he's jealous. I don't know how else to describe that. And so I got pregnant with my first daughter, and then again right after I got pregnant with my second daughter. Um, and then within a year of giving birth to my second daughter, um, things started to escalate again, and escalated to the point where he had tried to um, kill myself and my two children. In I think it was in 2013.
Tell me about that. How did he try to kill you?
Yeah, so we had gotten into a fight at this point. I had relapsed. He was actively using as well. We had gotten into a fight because he had stolen some money from me. I had gotten some student loan money and found out that he had taken it. He started beating me while we were in the car, and then was threatening to drive into oncoming traffic. And he was charged with domestic violence and endangering the welfare of a minor. He was charged, and convicted. And I believe, I could be really wrong about this, but I believe he spent maybe like a few weeks. It was less than a month in jail. We continued to see each other despite bail conditions.
Yep.
So that led to, in August of 2013, my family had great concerns about where my substance use was at the time. And they had given me an ultimatum to enter treatment, which I did do. And thankfully, I just celebrated 10 years in recovery this past month. Yeah, the beginning of this month. But So I entered treatment at the time that he was being prosecuted. So when I didn't appear at the court um, to show up to testify, because I was supposed to testify, um, they had reached out to Child Protective Services, and Child Protective Services became involved. I did end up going to Spring Harbor for a period of time because I was suicidal. Um, and when I got out of there, I was able to get into a program called the Macaulay Residence, which is transitional housing for women and children. And so um, when I entered that program, it's like a locked facility. And, part of my commitment to that program was that I would not be engaging in this relationship with Corey. Did we still hang out after that? Yes. But I think that what that program did was it gave me a strong buffer where, it's hard to set boundaries with somebody who's been super abusive to you. They did a really good job of setting those boundaries for me. It was the end of our intimate partner relationship, but not the end of abuse or the end of us having to have contact.
The children.
Right. I ended my relationship with Corey. I would say it was probably like 2014 when we were like done. What I think is fair to say is that he had quite a few relationships in between then, all which appeared to be pretty toxic. And then I want to say it was either 2016 or 2017. He was in a relationship with a woman that he ended up also assaulting. And that assault my kids were in the home for at the time and were present to. Allegedly, he had beat her and then had, I guess, at one point threatened to light her on fire.
Did the kids tell you that they heard that?
My oldest child did. Yep. Her statement to the Maine State Police was actually, kind of what it was a big piece of them being able to charge him and convict him of aggravated domestic violence.
How old was she at the time?
Maybe like 8 or 9. And I was actually the person who called the state police because he had called me and told me that I needed to go pick up the girls, that him and his girlfriend were fighting and that she was doing all this stuff to him. And I heard her in the background saying, "Please help, he's trying to light me on fire." He was convicted. Yeah, he went to jail. He didn't go to prison, so it was under 9 months.
Okay.
The next person that I heard of him dating was Michaela.
Okay. And so Laura, how old was Michaela?
She should be 26 now.
Oh my goodness, so young. She was 23.
Yeah, she was very young.
22.
Very young. She already was a single mother. She had her ups and downs with opioids and for a few years, and we were at a point where she had reached sobriety and seemed to be moving in a positive direction. COVID changed our perspective of things a little bit. I think things got a little hard for her. But it wasn't until she met Corey in the spring, and they had only been dating for a month or two. And then he was coming to my house to meet me. I felt it was very odd. And I met him, and immediately I was like, "You need to leave him. You need to leave him. There is nothing good in this person. You need to get out of it." And she said, "But Ma, I'm already pregnant." And so that became the journey with the second child and my involvement with Corey and family law.
What didn't you like about him? Why did you have that first impression of him?
He immediately came across as controlling, condescending, just very you can just tell when you meet someone and their intentions are not good. You can just feel it.
And it's
I wish I had something more concrete to say, but my first impression was my skin crawled.
and so tell me, just tell me how how it progressed.
Well, so then my daughter's pregnant, and Corey, out of jail now, has, he's gone back to his drugs and started bringing Michaela into it. And then now she was starting to use again while pregnant. So then that required family intervention to get her into detox and rehab for the baby's sake, for her sake as well. But at that point, it's also very crucial for the developing child.
But how did you know that he's the one who got her back into it?
Because when she goes through recovery, she tells me everything. She's
Okay.
very honest, and she lets it all, and we've gone down this road several times, and
Yes.
she lets it out, and I just hold her and let her get it out, and we go forward.
Yes.
We always go forward.
And so you were concerned while she was pregnant, she was using substances, and then what happened?
Well, so then she went to detox, and I don't believe she did a full 30 days. It was a very short trip, but then she moved in with a friend, which was a red flag for me that she didn't come back home, that she moved in with a friend. And then about a month, I'd have to look back at my records. It was about a month later, then Corey moved in with that friend as well. And it was only a couple of weeks before they both kicked my daughter out pregnant so that they could continue their affair. My daughter then,
Oh, wait, it was a woman it was a woman that, she had moved in with.
right,
Yeah, and so then he started an affair with that woman, and they
right, correct.
they got it, yeah.
And then they pushed her out pregnant. And then the child was born in the fall of 2020, and trying to fix things and make things better. I know she regrets. She's never said the words to me, but by the letters and everything that have surfaced, they went to the courthouse and signed for marriage after the child was born. So then they were married 6 or 7 days before he set his car on fire and went back to jail. They lived together for 1 week married, and he set his car on fire and went back to jail.
And one thing that's important to is like a few weeks before he lit his car on fire, he had contacted me. He was definitely under the influence, and he had the kids. I don't remember where the kids were, but they weren't with me. I know they also weren't with him. And he had told me that he was going to light my house on fire while I was sleeping, while the kids weren't there. And I actually did contact, I was so terrified. I contacted through these doors and spoke with an advocate, and they were like, well, are you trying to escape I was like, no, I'm not even in a relationship with this individual. I've been in a past relationship with this person. I just want you to document this in case like I go up in flames tonight. Like that's all. That's the only reason I'm calling you, is just so that you can document. And so to find out 2 weeks later, or not very shortly thereafter, that he had, allegedly burned his car to the ground while he was high on crystal meth was
Now what
incredibly concerning.
when he threatened to burn your house down, what was the argument? Was it an argument about the kids, or what prompted
No,
it?
I don't even think we were arguing. I don't recall us even arguing about it. It was like he literally just called me and was under the influence and said that, which
So, Laura, he was ended up in jail for
For violation of
sure,
probation,
sure.
for the substance use.
Okay. And then what?
Okay, so that was January 2021. The baby, who had spent most of the first 2 months of his life spent mostly with me. Um, my daughter then moved back in, and the baby, it was full time with me until his release in June. He was released on a Friday, and by Monday morning, I had CPS in my living room again discussing next steps. Um, I'm not sure. I never received the full disclosure of what caused the CPS. I saw the excessive drug use in my home that weekend and was prepared to call CPS. They just called me before I could call them
Michaela was living
because,
with you at the time.
right, but they were going to move out together with the child, and I saw his drug use immediately upon release. Later, I found out that the CPS case that was about to open was because of domestic violence. I was under the impression it was substance use, and CPS knew that I was under the impression it was substance use, and they never corrected.
Shouldn't they
And
tell the mother? This has come up before where they have not informed the mother, the parent, about the
yeah,
domestic violence.
yeah. Well, they asked me to be guardian, but they never disclosed why I was to be guardian. And then CPS left with no directions. They just basically said, good luck. You have 6 months to get a reunification plan. But we didn't even know why the case was opened. But it actually avoided the case by doing the guardianship. You could evade the CPS case and process. But we were given no information, no process, no steps, no assistance in any way, yet we had 6 months to have a reunification plan.
Wait, when you say we, do you mean you and you and who? Who's the we?
We just, when I say we, I'm referring to me and my parents. We decided to do a co-guardianship. That way we all can be involved in taking to doctors' visits.
Do you mean reunification with Corey or with your daughter or who, or both of
Well,
them?
both because they're now married.
Got it. Okay.
They're
So
still not
CPS
living together. Still
and
not living together. They never did live together. They
okay.
only lived together for 1 week.
And so
That's it. So they're married.
CPS was definitely on the track of reunifying the child with the child's parents. Do you think that was a good idea? Or do you think they should just have left the child with you and your parents?
Well, at that point, I didn't realize his history with CPS.
Yeah.
How CPS allowed it to ever get to this point is shocking. And the fact that we're still fighting it is shocking. Because then we did work on a reunification plan. We knew that the guardianship was coming near an end. We had visits, we had family meetings, we looked at progress, we wanted verification of sobriety. So we were doing all of the steps that we could. And then the first overnight that my daughter was allowed, which because they're not living together, we gave my daughter the overnight. We did not say that Corey could not have an overnight, but we also didn't think that he would be present because he wasn't living with her. So we gave her the overnight near the end of that 6 month period. That would be February, the first weekend in February. And it was after that weekend when my daughter died.
So your daughter had the baby with her that weekend, and it was over that weekend that she died when she had the
Right
baby.
after the weekend on Monday.
And did you even know how the weekend went? Did you talk to her that weekend?
Of course, we were FaceTiming and checking in. It was after her death that we could see what was really going on that weekend. And she was being pushed to go into work so that she could give Corey $700 by Tuesday night. There was a big push for the $700 for Tuesday night. So this weekend that she had been planning for months and doing all of these steps and work, and even, the little things like getting the popcorn and the movies and everything all set up. She was very excited for this weekend and had contacted Amanda to invite the girls for
Right.
this joyous weekend. And then to find out that she wasn't even able to spend time with her children because she was pushed to work to make money for Corey.
So Corey spent the time with the children?
Yes.
And Amanda, do we know from your daughters what happened that weekend?
Yes, we do. So, um, so I dropped the kids off on a Sunday for a visit. I brought a friend of mine with me, a close friend of mine, um, who also knew Corey, just because I wanted her to be able to set eyes on him, right? Just like another set of eyes, just to see like how he looked, does he look like he's using? I did not see Michaela at all. So I think that's like something important. And I was also under the impression, because Michaela and I had been texting, that she would be there the entire time. Um, and I just had this weird feeling. So I said to the girls, I said, hey, look, if you haven't seen your dad in a while, like, all this stuff has occurred. If for some reason you don't want to be in this visit anymore, you just can call me and there will be no questions asked and I will come pick you up. And they said, okay. And so I think I was supposed to pick them up around like 4 or 5. And I believe I got a phone call around 2 from the girls. They'd only been there for a few hours and they were like, can you come pick us up? And so I picked them up. I got them in the car. We started talking. And this is what the girls reported to me. The girls reported to me that they were um, that they had overheard their dad having a concerning phone call with somebody where he was threatening to kill somebody. And they had overheard something about or somebody being raped in a basement in Massachusetts. And they then proceeded to tell me that they saw bruises on Michaela and they were worried for her safety. So what Corey doesn't know and what a lot of people don't know is that Monday, I was, feeling very uncomfortable with the information that I was sitting with. And I knew that reaching out to Child Protective Services was not an option because I have been accused of using Child Protective Services as a weapon against him. Those are some of the allegations in our family court matter.
Who accused you of that?
That Corey has accused me of that.
And did the court take that seriously?
Well, it appears, because we've been in and out of family court for the past 10 years. And so, yes, it appears that people do believe that. So I knew that contacting Child Protective Services was not an option. So I did reach out to somebody who is a mandated reporter and reported that information and my concerns. And that person was getting ready to do follow-up regarding that when I learned about Michaela's passing. So within a few hours of learning of her passing, I had contacted Child Protective Services with my concerns. And I also had contacted the South Portland Police Department, and the girls and I were interviewed by investigators at South Portland Police Department.
Which police department?
South Portland.
Is that where they were? Is that where
That's where Michaela resided at the time of her death. Yeah.
And Laura, what is your time frame of what you knew and how you came to find out on Monday?
So the children came back. Oh, I didn't find out Monday. The children, came back, and I could tell that there was something not right with my daughter. And so I had on Monday morning, we had a quick little chat, and it was just a mother-daughter humorous, little chuckling moment. And it was kind of my way of saying, like, you made it, it's good, everything's all good, I didn't know what was going on at the time. And so she had died Monday night by hanging, and it wasn't called in until Wednesday morning by Corey. He called it in with concerns of her well-being, but he didn't call until Wednesday morning. There are a lot of questionable pieces in this. The investigator never contacted me. After 2 weeks, I did get through to him, and I was quite irate at that moment. There were all kinds of signs of foul play. Corey had requested a gun from me. I don't own guns, but he had requested a gun from me 2 weeks before her death. Of course, I'm concerned. Why would you want a gun? And he said it was for, the dog that reached his days. He doesn't own a dog.
Wow.
There were all, and I could go on for days. There's so much suspicion. And so, the investigator did have a conversation with me and answered my questions, but he never did ask me any questions. He never interviewed anybody in Michaela's family, not a single person.
Hmm.
Some of their family members have never even spoken to the investigator. So that's very disheartening. It was as soon as the medical examiner returned, it was ruled as suicide and done. Not looking back. I've been fighting since that day. I have been reaching out to Cumberland County DA. Oh gosh, every like 2, 3 months, I reach out again and reach out again. I've reached out to Governor Mills, community corrections. All of these are no response, no acknowledgement. Community corrections, I let them know of the information that I had where he was in violation, no acknowledgement. And I haven't stopped. I'm still going. I'm still trying to get my daughter's case reopened because there is quite a bit of foul play at hand in this. And we also had to go through the fight with CPS, which a judge, that's when I started learning about the, because of course we wanted to extend the emergency temporary guardianship. So we wanted to extend that, and Corey came at us fighting to end the guardianship. Through that, we were able to get a snapshot of his, I'll just say very thick file, probably the thickest file that Maine CPS has on anyone. The charges, the reports, it's mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-blowing. And with all of that, even though there were also charges or cases, I'm saying it wrong. What is it? He was substantiated for emotional abuse of children that were present. The judge still gave the child back, ended our guardianship and gave the child back, but we could keep my family on with court ordered visits so that the child, because he wanted to remove the child completely, go straight into isolation and remove the child completely from the family that he's always known.
Wait. Sorry, I have to stop here for a second.
Right.
CPS knows about the domestic violence because
Yes.
you said that the CPS knew about domestic violence and they didn't tell you, and that was why they were overseeing this. So how
Correct.
can then how could CPS then give him custody of this, take the son away from you, and especially when the mother has just died and the family is saying that there's foul play and they think that then just give the child to Corey? It doesn't even make sense.
I would like the answer to that too. I would like, and I won't stop fighting until I get the answer to that.
When the
I want the answer to that. I want to know why our judicial system is the way as such that we know that individuals are dangerous, and yet we put children in their care who cannot defend themselves. I would like the answer to that as well.
How old is Michaela's child?
He will be 3 in a couple weeks. He was
Was he
15 months when she died.
was he in the custody of Corey when Corey had this police standoff?
No, no. Interesting. A few weeks prior to the standoff, he signed all parental rights to one of his girlfriends.
What?
So we are in court. We are right now contesting, and we have to go to court to contest to get the child back because she will not return the child to his bio family, the one that has been raising him all this time,
Which is you
until the
and your
courts gave him
parents.
back.
And how long has it been since you've seen your grandson?
We did see him last weekend. She is honoring the weekend schedule that was originally decided upon in court. My mother said, well, he needs to be with his family. And she replied, he is with his family. Nobody knows who she is.
And by the way, his mother just died. Don't you think that he needs his family more
Yeah.
than ever right now?
Yeah. Well, that was a year and a half ago. He was 15 months. We've been fighting all this time. He was 15 months. He doesn't know what a mother is. He doesn't know who his mother is. He's very confused. His older brother understands. We had to teach him the concept of death and then explain that's why mommy's never coming home again to a 3.5-year-old. So his, I'm sorry, his brother understands what has happened to his mother. And we try and get to look at pictures and remember his mom, but he doesn't know. He doesn't remember who she is. He doesn't even know what a mother is, other than what Coco Melon teaches him. But he doesn't have that. And he's still separated from his family.
Who is Coco Melon?
Oh, I'm sorry. Anybody with a toddler knows Coco Melon. It's
Oh,
children's nursery
oh.
that's very popular right now.
Now, are you at this girl's mercy so that it's up to her, since she's the legal guardian, that if you rub her the wrong way, she could deny you to see your grandson, or is it?
Oh, yes, exactly. But we are contesting. We're in court because the paperwork was, well, it's all falsified. It's all false. It's not true information. They did not disclose the previous guardianship or court orders. They did not disclose previous or any CPS cases that have been on this child. They did not disclose through omission. They lied in the application and the process of the guardianship.
And is there anybody that is making sure that Corey is not involved with your grandson?
She did file a protective order against him, so she has full rights.
How could this boy's mother die under suspicious circumstances that have not been looked at thorough enough?
Right.
And then they custody because the person that's a convicted domestic abuser signed over custody to a person that is not related at all to this young boy,
Correct.
when his grandmother and his grandparents, who had guardianship of him at a time, are there wanting to take care of him, and they don't even give
We're
you
fighting for him.
are fighting for him.
Yes.
Can you remind me how the two of you started connecting and how closely you are working together on this right now, and what you are working together on?
It was a month or two after my daughter's death. I reached out to Amanda initially to give her daughters some of my daughter's belongings that were in my home still. I knew that her daughters weren't receiving the closure and healing that they needed. And I just couldn't imagine what they had already, all the things that they had already been through. So that was the initial reach out, is I wanted to give Amanda's daughters something that was Michaela's to help ease that healing process. And then we started to voice some of our concerns, and the water spigot just went full blast, and we both just started pouring out. And it's been very, very nice. I felt so alone, and it's been very nice having somebody with me to help me in this fight, because it's not that we're trying to attack an individual. It's that the system itself is so broken to allow this repeatedly that it has to be addressed.
Is Corey going to bail out? Has he been offered bail?
What's that?
He's been offered bail?
Yes.
So if he comes up with the money, he's going to be on the streets.
Yes.
And how much is his bail? Do you know?
50,000 right now.
I mean, what do you think of the fact that he's allowed to post bail?
Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous, and a risk to our society.
I do have, per Westbrook PD, what he was charged
Could
with.
you read that out?
If you would like, I can read that.
Sure.
So he has been charged with aggravated domestic violence assault, possession of a firearm by a prohibited person, as he is a convicted felon, obstructing the report of a crime, and creating a police standoff.
Laura, first, when you first heard the news about this Westbrook situation, they weren't releasing his name. What did you first think? And when you found out that it was him, and just could you describe your reaction to all of that?
We knew before it was broadcasting live because that's when the current guardian contacted my mother and said, just want you to be aware that there are police surrounding Corey, but is with me safe. And so that was the first alert. And that's what we were left with for about half an hour. And then the live broadcast started to go on their social media, on the Westbrook Police social media, so we could watch what was happening at the moment. At that point, I left work and started racing home because I didn't know what else to do. I just needed to get as close as I possibly could so that I could get, but that didn't happen.
Well, you couldn't get you did you try to get, and what happened with that?
Well, that's when we were denied by the girlfriend that no, she has guardianship and she was holding on to him.
And Amanda, did you say that they were trying to pull your daughters into the negotiation to get him to surrender?
Yeah. I did work with the negotiators back in May. So shortly after he got off of probation for his last aggravated domestic violence. I had filed a police report with Westbrook Police Department because I had a video of him stalking me. It was it may have even been the day he got off probation or the following day. And so I had made a complaint with the police department just saying, I believe this person is stalking me. They did not, there's nothing I don't know, I guess by law could do. Stalking is very hard to prove. But I did have this video and I shared it with the police. So again, this was back in May. And so I was working with the negotiators just in terms, they were asking me lots of questions about his behaviors, specifically in regards to his behaviors with guns. So that was a red flag to me. And, I was able to provide some insight to the negotiators around that, but I picked up both my daughters from school. I had to have a very frank conversation with them that, this is what's happening. They're older. One's in middle school, the other's in high school. And so they have access to social media. Like I knew they were going to see this. And, the conversation was, this is going to end one of three ways. Either your dad is going to be taken into custody. He is going to be shot and killed by police, or he's going to commit suicide. And at one point, the negotiators did ask if I would have the girls record something for him, and I said no, because the last thing I would want is for them to be, sending a recording to their dad who's in a police standoff, telling them, trying to encourage him to, stop, to surrender, and then have him either hurt himself or hurt someone else. And for them to think that wouldn't be enough. I wasn't going to put my daughters in that situation. It was shortly after I said no to the negotiators that they just stopped contact with me. They did not notify me. I had asked them to notify me when this was over, however this ended, and they didn't. We found out that he was apprehended because somebody sent a video to my daughter of him being arrested, taken out with no clothes on, with just a sheet wrapped around him and getting into a stretcher. That is how we found out that he was taken into custody. And there was like very little follow-up after that. And we've been in court for the past, since shortly after Michaela's death, in this long custody It's been forever.
Do you mean that
And
they're still considering giving him like visitation or
so he had in April started, I believe it was April, started supervised visitation per the guardian ad litem assigned to our case. Um, by June, the guardian was recommending unsupervised contact. The kids started having unsupervised contact with him in July. In July, there was a concern regarding him using substances reported by the girls. I reported that to the guardian ad litem. Nothing was done about that. In September, um, he was having unsupervised overnights. And my daughter was helping him move. He was moving from one apartment to another, and she found substances and took pictures of that. And I reported that to the guardian ad litem. And at that point, the guardian ad litem had asked Corey to do a hair follicle test, and he refused and admitted to substance use and said that he would be going into treatment. And so the guardian was recommending that contact stop. But I think what's important to acknowledge here is that at one point, prior to all of that happening, he was asking for shared parental rights as well as shared time with the girls, or having weekends with the girls, unsupervised, and a guardian was supporting that decision.
and what were you
Um,
saying? Were you trying to trying
well,
to
I think I had just gotten so tired of of really just like trying to fight the system that is not supporting me. It's not supporting my children. Yeah, I was kind of like, I guess I'm not going to win here.
they lower the bar
And
so much about what you can expect.
right, my expectation is that his parental rights are terminated.
It was like when my ex was going to be sentenced and my lawyer told me he's not going to get any jail time because it's a first offense. We've been married for 30 years. Are you like, who's going to really believe that this is a first offense?
That when the report of the substances being in the home was there, CPS should have, at that point, his parental rights should have been removed, but instead, he was able to skirt the child's over through guardianship to another person.
Right. That's why he did that. Right.
And so he was able, 3 days later, they filed for the guardianship and he could skirt it over to another. He has multiple girlfriends always. And I'm just going to be honest about that. I've contacted a lot of them and I finally stopped because I'm like, okay, I have enough verification now that infidelity was a serious problem in their relationship. Yeah, so he, instead of the state intervening and saying enough is
Sorry.
enough and removing his parental rights, he then was he was given the time to skirt the guardianship over to somebody who's completely unrelated.
And who will give him access to the kids?
Yes, and who enables him? And that's really important, is because when we talk about everything that we've gone through, what I don't feel enough people understand is it's not just the abuse and the attacks, whether it be through court or stalking, personal. It's not just the abuser that you have to face. It's all of the enablers or flying monkeys, and they come at you at so many different angles, blame shifting, gaslighting, and it's awful when you're trying to move forward and take the right steps and you're going against somebody, and then you have the enablers attacking you and smear campaigning you and just knocking you down.
What do you think, Laura, happened to your daughter?
I think I am the only one in my family and her network of close friends. And when I say her close friends, like dozens, reached out with evidence to the investigator. I truly think I am the only one who feels my daughter did this act. The reason I think it is because she was in the space that we've been talking about, but she was so alone and it was so intense, the intensity when she would find out about a new girlfriend and question him about it, he would choke her out. The domestic violence it was extremely psychological, but it became very physical and life-threatening. And I think she felt extremely trapped. And after that weekend that she wanted with her boys, that she wanted that family weekend, she really wanted the family. And she realized that she could never win. She could never, he was just, this was ongoing. And when you feel like you're stuck in a maze, there's no escape from the maze. This is your life. I truly feel that she did the act, but I also have seen the communications between them leading up to the minutes. Um, I can see all of the psychological abuse and the pushing. The fact that that morning he said, I saw your failed attempts. And then he proceeded to stalk her and harass her. He mocked her mental health, said, you need to cut this crap out or you're going to end up in a psych hospital. And he pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And she just couldn't take it anymore. Now, when she died to when her body was discovered, I don't feel anybody has the true story. Her final letter, the second page is written in different hand. It's not the same. My daughter didn't write the second page. There was definitely tampering with evidence to cover up what could have caused her to get to that point. And I'm not even sure it even matters because in the state of Maine, pushing someone to suicide is not a crime.
What do you feel should happen now? Amanda, what do you want to see happen?
Well, first of all, what I want for the abuse to stop. It has been continuous. I have known Corey for 17 years. That is 17 years of my life. And I want that to stop. Um, I recently, when I initially filed the court paperwork last year, so that he could not have contact with the children, he uh, filed a complaint against my professional license, which significantly impacted um, my ability to work. He has continued to stalk me. I have a recent video of that, recent one in the past 6 months. I want that to stop. I want for my children and for all of the people who are involved. That includes Hale's family. I want for them to all be safe and feel safe. Um, I want some justice for Michaela. We've been in and out of family court for the past decade. All I'm asking is I don't want this person to contact me. I want him to leave me alone and I want him to leave the children alone. I want, change in the family court system. The fact that somebody who tried to kill me and my children, the fact that I'm expected to co-parent with him is insane to me. When Child Protective Services initially got involved, right, back in 2013, when the first EV happened, they said I couldn't be around my children. I understand that, right? Like, I get it. I went to treatment. I did what I needed to do. I'm super grateful for that because I wouldn't be here today if I didn't, right? But just to paint the picture, he got unsupervised time back with the children before I did. So here you are telling me that I am not making good parenting choices and
Because you're with
allowing
him.
children
Because you're with him.
have,
Yeah.
to have contact because I'm with him. But then you turn around and give this person that you're telling me is dangerous and cannot have contact with the children contact back before you give it to me. When I met with the guardian ad litem who was assigned to our case the first day I met with this woman, she kept saying the substance use. And I'm like, no, My concerns are the domestic violence. My
Mm.
concerns are not the substance use. I am a counselor. I can tell you right now, a substance use disorder is very treatable. It is very treatable. My concerns are his patterns in violence towards women and children, and where my children are present to that. That is my concerns, and you're not taking my concerns serious. The fact that I have been told by multiple attorneys time and time and time again that I cannot terminate his parental rights, that he just automatically gets these rights no matter what he does is absurd to me. It's crazy.
I think it's important to um, bring up that with addiction, and I am all for recovery. Please understand, I am all for recovery. However, there comes a point when you have to call it out. Every time that he is running into trouble with the law, he will immediately use addiction
Mhm.
as the excuse,
Mhm.
and he goes to detox and he evades the charges.
That the
And
same
so this has been repeat again, and after 20 years, you have to say enough. You cannot, use addiction to evade the charges.
they do the same thing with
It
mental
never should have
illness.
gotten this far.
They do the same thing with mental illness. It's an excuse. There's no excuses for
Yes.
domestic violence.
Well, personally, I want, my grandson's home safe and sound. The sound is really important. I feel that there's very little attention to the safety, but the mental wellness is not addressed at all. In my opinion, it's too minimal. It's just way too minimal. So personally, I want my family together and I want us to be able to go forward in healing. What I won't stop fighting for our changes and our laws. This should not, it never should have gotten to this level. It should not be allowed. And the fact that we are at this level and we're still not able to get justice for the actions that he has committed is inexcusable. And so I will keep fighting until laws change and people can feel safe in the state of Maine again.
More severe sentencing for domestic abuse.
Yes, I do want to see more severe sentencing for domestic violence. He should not, if the state had responded appropriately with the first violation, he would just now be released. And all of these other crimes a- and hurtful acts, the loss of my daughter, none of this would have been. The second conviction, he should, why did he only spend a handful of months? He never went to prison. And it was the second conviction. Attempted manslaughter is pretty serious. And then the continued abuse within the system. CPS needs a serious restructure. Not a little band-aid here and there. It needs a complete restructure. The fact that abusers can manipulate the system to then victimize the victims is appalling. Some of the ways that Corey has used the legal system to continue to harass me. For example, one of them was a protection order. He put a protective order against me. And then he taunted me for the 30 days until we had court. So I had to lawyer up. That cost me $3,000, a month of stress. He had people stalking me extreme. He went in, he had the marriage and death certificate. So he was the only one that could go in and delete my daughter's Facebook account where everybody was coming together daily, coming together and putting their memories and their thoughts about my daughter. He deleted her Facebook account, so her digital memory is completely gone forever. It will not ever come back. And he just taunted me for 30 days, trying to get me to break the no contact so that I could be arrested. And it's legal. And it's legal to do that. And it is a flat out harassment.
And not only is it legal, but people are making money. The lawyers are making money.
Yes.
The Garden
Yes.
ad litems are making money.
Yes.
Who's profiting?
Correct. Correct. Yeah, it's been a crazy year and a half, to say the least, or actually 3 years. It's for 3 years now, my life has been completely upside down. Reality gets questioned far too often. The way that he spins and webs everything around, and it 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 should have been stopped long ago. My daughter was, very dedicated to, domestic violent causes. I did start a domestic violence advocacy group to, put some education out there.
And she was how old when she died?
24,
Wow.
yeah, with a 3-year-old and a 15-month-old.
Could you just tell me about your daughter just so we can get a better impression of her, describe her?
Yes.
How would you describe your daughter?
When she's not using, beautiful. Just beautiful in every way. So compassionate, absolutely compassionate. Like I said earlier, the groups that she was very dedicated to was homelessness, and she would always make care kits and pass out. But she was the kind of person that when she made the care kits, she made sure, and I know because she would text me, "Ma, if you're in Hannaford, go in the travel, the travel size line and pick up." And she would make sure to have a razor and travel size shaving cream. And then she was collecting makeup samples, and she would put the little makeup samples into these packets so that when she was handing out care packages in Portland, it wasn't just your needs like a toothbrush, toothpaste, socks. It was also the dignity for the individual. It was important to be able to shave your legs and put on some makeup if it makes you feel good and gives you, some decency, then do that. That was the kind of person Michaela was, still is. She's still doing it, but just as a star now. Of course, I see her as the most beautiful star